Napoleon put crowns on their heads. Naples, Spain, Holland, Westphalia. Men born to innkeepers and coopers and barrel makers went to sleep as princes because one man decided they should. And when the empire cracked, almost every one of them helped bury him. You have watched a smaller version of this happen in your own life. You have never had a word for it. You know the shape of it even if you cannot name it. You helped someone. Really helped them, the introduction that changed their year, the money you did not ask back, the door you held open when nobody else would. And somewhere after that, something cooled. They did not fight with you. They did not accuse you of anything. They simply became slightly harder to reach, slightly quicker to correct you in front of others. Slightly relieved, in some way you could feel but not prove, when things went badly for you. You told yourself you were imagining it. You were not. In 1814, the coalition armies came across the frozen ground toward Paris, and Napoleon fought the best campaign of his life with an army of boys. What defeated him was not Blucher. It was the arithmetic of the men he had elevated. Joachim Murat was a cavalryman, the son of an innkeeper, a man with more courage than judgment and a taste for feathers and gold braid. Napoleon gave him his sister and then gave him Naples. King Joachim. In January of 1814, while the emperor was still fighting, Murat signed a treaty with Austria and marched his Neapolitan troops against the French positions in Italy. He was not desperate. He was calculating. He had a crown now, and crowns want to survive the man who gave them. Auguste de Marmont had known Bonaparte since Toulon, when neither of them was anything. He was there at the beginning, before the beginning. Napoleon made him a marshal and Duke of Ragusa. In April of 1814, holding the last corps between the emperor and the Allied armies, Marmont negotiated privately and marched his men into enemy lines, while Napoleon was still trying to bargain from Fontainebleau. It ended the campaign in a single stroke. In French, for a century afterward, to betray was to raguser. The dukedom became a verb for treason. Michel Ney, the bravest of the brave, the man who walked out of Russia with a musket in his hands as the last Frenchman on the road, came to Fontainebleau at the head of the marshals and told the emperor plainly that the army would no longer march for him. It was not spoken as betrayal. It was spoken as realism, which is the form betrayal takes when it wants to keep its dignity. And Talleyrand, whom Napoleon had made Prince of Benevento, quietly assembled the provisional government that declared him deposed. But that is not the part that should disturb you. The part that should disturb you is that these men were not the ones he had wronged. They were the ones he had raised. The enemies he had beaten, the Austrians, the Prussians negotiated with him. The men he had lifted out of obscurity into palaces were the ones who moved fastest to end him. The correlation runs the wrong way, and it runs the wrong way in your life too, and no one will explain it to you honestly, because the honest explanation makes it harder to keep helping people. Nietzsche saw this clearly. He said that a great gift is not accepted, it is endured. To receive something you could never have earned is to be told, permanently and without words, what you are worth on your own. Gratitude, in a man who cannot repay, does not stay gratitude, it ferments. It becomes the private conviction that the debt was never fair to begin with, and from there, it is a short walk to the belief that the giver must have had motives, must have wanted control, must have enjoyed the height from which he handed the thing down. Understand the mechanism, because it is not cruelty, and it is not simple envy. Every day a man wears a crown he did not win, he sees the hand that placed it there. He cannot look at his own life without seeing you standing at the edge of it. His success is not fully his. His title has a footnote, and the footnote is your name. There is only one way to remove a footnote. You destroy the source, or you diminish it. Either you tear the giver down, or you spend years quietly revising the story until the gift becomes something you deserved all along, and the giver becomes a man who was merely using you. Both routes end in the same place. That is why Murat needed to believe Napoleon had exploited Naples. That is why Marmont spent the rest of his life writing memoirs explaining that he had saved France. Men do not betray and then feel guilty. They betray and then construct the reason afterward, and the reason always feels sincere from the inside. Nietzsche put the blade in further. He said that when we are helped, our vanity is wounded, and that the wound remembers longer than the kindness. This is why the small favor is repaid, and the enormous one is not. Lend a man a little and he thanks you. Lift a man out of his whole life and he will find, in a year or in 5, that he needs to be free of you. Now bring it back to the room you are sitting in. You will not be betrayed by strangers. Strangers owe you nothing, so they resent you for nothing. The danger sits precisely where you have been most generous. The friend you carried through the worst year of his life, the sibling you kept from drowning, the person you brought into the work who had no way in without you. You believe these people are bound to you. They are bound to you. That is the problem. Binding and loyalty are not the same substance, and one of them can turn into its opposite. Watch for the tell, because there is always a tell before the turn. It is not hostility. It is a slow editing of history. He begins to describe how he got here, without your name in the sentence. He starts mentioning, lightly, almost fondly, your flaws to other people. He becomes strangely allergic to the moment you were most useful to him, and if you refer to it directly, even gently, something behind his face goes cold. That is the debt working. That is the crown looking for a way to have crowned itself. None of this means stop giving. A man who helps no one to avoid being betrayed has simply chosen a smaller life and called it wisdom. It means give without building a ledger and without expecting that the ledger buys you safety. It means know that the moment you elevate someone, you have not purchased a permanent ally. You have introduced a debt into a human being, and human beings do not carry debt well. Napoleon believed loyalty could be manufactured. He handed out kingdoms the way another man hands out compliments, and he died on a rock in the South Atlantic while the men he had crowned were negotiating their retirements. He never understood that the crown does not create love, it creates a witness. And no one wants a witness to the day they were nothing. So look again at the people around you, not at the ones who owe you nothing, at the ones who owe you everything. Watch closely, believe less,